while we still have time, I'm interested in getting your perspective on use of cannabis in sports.
Well, I think that it's something that's obviously needed. Professional athletes, I played 16 years, right? And I've been retired 8 years, so I have like 24 years experience of just saying, like, having access to like the world's greatest athletes, right? And I would say like 80% of them use cannabis in some shape, form, or fashion, right? And I think now probably even more than that, right? Just because now it's more readily available. Now that you have like the microdose gummies and tinctures and all these different things, I think that guys are definitely want to use it as an alternative way to deal with a lot of the issues that we deal with. As a former athlete, I can't say that my entire career I was always on a quest of trying to figure out how to feel better, right? How do I feel like I'm 19 years old all over again, right? And a lot of times, one, it's impossible, right? People want to say that, I feel 100%. That's not, that's not really true in sports, right? You always have something, a knick-knack, something that's always bothering you, right? So you're always combating that and trying to figure out how to recover faster, and like just so that I can continue to play at this high level because, that's what pays the bills, right? And, as athletes, we always had access to like opioids and, things that to me are just not safe. Because we see, a lot of players struggle with addiction, you know what I mean, when they're in their careers or when they get out, when they're out, right? I'm a guy that took, anti-inflammatory, a brand called Celebrex. I took 2 in the morning and 1 at night, for over 7 years, just because my body hurt, knee, back, shoulder, hand, all these different things. And when you think about all the side effects, which I did read, and, they were harmful, but at the end of the day, I had no other choice. I had to provide for my family. So when you think about all these different opportunities with cannabis and that, we could use cannabis to be able to recover faster, to be able to use it as an anti-inflammatory, to be able to use it for anti-anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like all these different things, I think is going to be amazing because, athletes actually need it. We are human beings as well. We might be superhumans in some shape, form, or fashion because we can jump high or run fast or different things like that. But, we still have, the same body, right? And we still deal with the same issues. So I think if it's needed for anyone else, it's needed for us. And I think that, as many athletes can tell their stories of why they use, I think that the stigma will continue to change. And, we see that in all professional sports, they no longer test, for cannabis. And, if you look at all the sports has just continued to elevate. It hasn't dropped off in any shape, form, or fashion. And that's with these current players using on a daily basis. So I think that it's something that's needed. It definitely is an alternative way. I'm not going to say it's going to heal and cure every issue that you deal with, but it depends on your lifestyle. For my lifestyle, being a retired player that, need a knee replacement, hips are starting to bother them here and there. Cannabis allows me to be able to go out and function at a high level, be a dad and active dad and still work out and run my business. And, and I use cannabis in order to be able to accomplish those things. So it's just a beautiful thing. And that's why I asked you the question I asked you, because it's so important that the more and more data and education that we can put around the research, it'll just continue to break down these barriers. And, we'll all understand like the true value of cannabis for all of our daily lives.
Yeah, amen. I think people don't understand, and professional athletes, the kind of stress they're under. It was interesting to read. I grew up near Boston, and Bill Russell was playing when I was a kid, and I was surprised to learn that he routinely threw up before games. That's the kind of pressure, and he was a giant in the field. And I know that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got in trouble at one point for using cannabis to treat his headaches. That's been a focus of my research for decades. But another area I just want to mention while we still have time is particularly in the contact sports. I know you guys took a lot of elbows to the head, but hopefully not as bad as football or hockey. But a lot of those players are turning up with what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a terrible progressive brain disease that's associated with basically people going crazy and demented and dying at a young age. And we have very strong evidence that this could be treated, maybe slowed down with use of cannabis-based medicines. So, there's great promise there, and it's something that we're trying to work on as well. Our handlers have suggested we talk about the Brittany Greiner situation. I think the whole thing is really unfortunate. Here's somebody who's gone to Russia and apparently has been educating Russian girls in how to play basketball, and she made a mistake, and now, as of today, I guess she's facing 9 years in prison unless they can do a swap. So I think it's really unfortunate. We're not likely to help Russia change their laws very quickly, but
Right.
we need to start at home too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, it's very unfortunate. She's obviously a very good person. Never been in trouble. Wife champion, all the accolades, Olympic athlete. So you would hope that she wouldn't have to deal with that, this situation that she's dealing with. And, I'm happy that our country is definitely, fighting to get her back, which is, I think, the thing that we're supposed to do. But I also think that it's obviously bringing light to, even some of the things that we're dealing with here in our country, right? Because there's also another athlete that was just arrested in Texas, for having 6 ounces of weed in his book bag to fly back to California, right? It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I mean, there's billions of dollars out here being made. These states are taxing these cannabis businesses, making all this tax revenue, and they're still locking people up, and people are still incarcerated behind cannabis. It just doesn't add up. So, I think first things first is obviously bringing Brittany home. Let's get her home as soon as possible. But I think that our country, we have to look at our policies as well. And we need to think about letting, the people that are, locked up for, nine physical offenses, and allowing them to come home to their families as well, and hopefully participate in this industry now that we realize that they were locked up for the wrong reason anyway.